In Nairobi, Kenya's capital, Patrick Mburu and his friends Paul and Jackson are in a hurry. They've got to clean out Pauline Mwangi's toilet and get rid of its raw human waste before the residents return to their homes in Kibera, Africa's largest slum. This private latrine was built by Mrs. Mwangui for the tenants of the 4 houses she owns in this alley, and she gets it emptied twice a year.
This is an old-fashioned toilet. The sewer is modern and I can't afford to get connected.
We were supposed to clean out this latrine yesterday, but the sludge is so heavy we couldn't do it with just a bucket. We had to find another way. So now we're demolishing part of the toilet so we can get inside the latrine and dig out the sludge with spades.
Patrick's only tools as a manual exhauster are his bucket and spade. The alleys between houses in Kibera are so small, there's no room for trucks or vacuum machinery to get access. Patrick's basic equipment is the only way to empty the latrines. The exhausters have almost no protection against the diseases that are rife in the sludge. They have to contend with injuries from broken glass and sharp metal thrown into the latrines, but their more immediate danger is that the walls of the latrine will collapse on them as they dig out the sludge.
The standard of the construction of these facilities is painfully inadequate. They're often unsafe, unhygienic, with holes lacking in adequate privacy, poor quality doors. Often children are unable to feel safe using these facilities.
Patrick's job may seem like one of the worst to have, but unemployment is high in Kibera, and 29-year-old Patrick is willing to do whatever it takes to support his family and educate his son. 800,000 people live in Kibera's maze of shacks and houses, which cover 4 square kilometers. The land was originally allocated as a temporary residence to Sudanese soldiers who'd fought in World War II for the British. The soldiers called the place Kibera, which means forest.
I was born in this slum and went to school here. The women cleared this area which used to be forest and bush, so people could settle.
Patrick's neighbours spend much of their time discussing their lives in Kibera. With 40% unemployment in Kenya, they feel there's little hope of their finding work, but none of them want to do Patrick's job.
The work they do is really risky. If I did that kind of job, it would be bad for my health.
Title deeds were never given to the original inhabitants of Kibera, and the land is still owned by the government. In the eyes of the law, Kibera is an illegal squat, so the government hasn't ever provided infrastructure or services such as sanitation. In 1990, a slum upgrade program was launched by the government with the United Nations Habitat Department, but funds are only now starting to trickle into the slum. Today, diarrhea, skin disease, typhoid, tuberculosis and malaria are Kibera's biggest medical problems, and they're all transmitted because of the lack of sanitation and clean water. At home, Patrick's first chore is to feed his chickens. Patrick only earns about $2 for each 200-litre drum of sludge he takes from the latrines, so he'll sell the chickens in the dry season when there's less work for him to do. Patrick was born and brought up in this house. Although Kibera's land is government-owned, the buildings have individual landlords.
These houses are owned by my father, so my brother Gibson and I don't pay any rent. We have tenants in the other houses, and they have to pay rent at the end of each month.
Like most in Kibera, Patrick's one-roomed house is built out of mud and sticks with a corrugated iron roof. But Patrick feels his home is better equipped than most in Kibera. He's managed to get electricity and loves watching his TV.
I talked to someone who owns a meter and he let me connect to his supply. At the end of the month, I pay him $3. Other people will charge you $4 a month. It depends on your relationship with them.
When it comes to using the toilet, Patrick gets no special treatment. He shares this locked latrine with 7 other houses, and if the owner isn't around with the key, he has to go back to nature. Most people in Kibera still use flying toilets, putting their excrement into plastic bags and throwing them as far as they can from their own homes. Charities, communities and the private sector have been building additional latrines, but according to the World Bank's Water and Sanitation Programme, only 500 now exist. Of these, 6 are connected to a sewer.
We have developed a master plan of addressing the sanitation in the area. So we have plans to extend the sewer network inside and help the communities to construct and to connect into the existing infrastructure. That will be able to take care of the existing, to elevate the existing situation in Kibera.
Ibrahim Minor works as a volunteer for a local organisation called Water and Sanitation. They've built the public toilets in this neighbourhood and charge users 2 US cents to help pay to keep the facility clean.
In my opinion, it is the government's responsibility to provide this service to the community, but we can't just sit around waiting for them to do something. So we have taken on the responsibility ourselves.
Earlier on, people were using bags and open drains for waste. But since there are these toilets, they are now happy.
It makes me really angry because we've got to pay as much as 5 shillings to use a toilet. If you have 5 children, it's a lot of money and you can't spend that much money on waste. You have to use that money to buy food and forget about how you deal with waste.
It's late afternoon. Salome has just fetched her son from school and they're waiting for Patrick's return. She's happy that at least he has work, but she hopes that the risks he takes will give their family a better future.
I don't want my son to go through what his father has gone through.
As the day ends, Patrick is still left with the task of getting rid of the sludge. He can't empty the drum in the official sewer because the drop point is too far away. And he doesn't have the right permits because as a self-employed exhauster, his work isn't officially recognised. His only option is to tip it into the already polluted Mbagathi stream that flows through the centre of the slum. The manual exhausters are vital to Kibera, but without government help, they're being forced to worsen the problems of Kibera's growing population rather than help to solve them.